All right, let's dive into one of the biggest, most talked about technologies out there right now, generative AI. You've seen it everywhere, right? It's creating incredible art, writing entire articles, but how does it actually work? And, what does it all mean for us? Let's break it all down.
Okay, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's just tackle the big, flashy question that feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. Is this stuff alive? Is it self-aware, conscious? It's a huge thought, and honestly, it gets right to the core of what we need to wrap our heads around.
So the answer to that really starts when we shift how we look at it. We're not dealing with some kind of creature that has thoughts and feelings. No, we're talking about a creator, a really, really powerful new kind of tool. So let's get the basic definition down first.
At its heart, generative AI is a special kind of artificial intelligence. See, it doesn't just analyze or sort information that's already there. It actually makes new things. It gobbles up a massive amount of data. We're talking text, images, code, and learns all the patterns, the styles, the connections. And then it uses all that learning to generate something totally new and original. Here's maybe the simplest way to get it. A regular AI, like the one in your phone's photo app, can look at a picture and tell you, hey, that's a cat. It identifies things. But a generative AI, it can create a brand new picture of a cat that has never ever existed before. That's the huge leap we're talking about, from just recognizing something to actually creating it from scratch.
Okay, so how in the world does it actually do that? How does it take a few words you type in and turn them into a stunning image or a perfectly worded email? Let's kind of pop the hood and take a peek at the engine that makes this whole thing run.
Well, it all starts with something called deep learning. Think of it like machine learning on steroids. You see, with traditional machine learning, you often need people to carefully label data for the computer. But with deep learning, you just throw a massive amount of data at it, and its complex networks start to figure out the patterns all by themselves. It's the deep part that lets it learn without so much hand-holding.
So when you give an AI a prompt, it's not reading it like you and I do. First, it chops your sentence up into little pieces called tokens. Then it turns those pieces into pure numbers, basically a long string of math that represents the meaning. And finally, based on those numbers, it just predicts. It predicts the most likely next piece of the puzzle, then the next, and the next, building its entire response one little block at a time. Now the real magic, the secret ingredient that made all of this possible, is something called a transformer model, and its superpower is a cool trick called self-attention. This lets it look at an entire sentence and figure out which words are the most important and how they relate to each other. That's how it gets context. It knows that the word bank in I sat on the riverbank means something totally different than the bank in I went to the bank for money. It's a total game changer.
All right, so that's a little bit of the how it works. But now for the fun part. What can we actually do with this thing? Let's check out the massive toolkit of applications this tech has unlocked. And trust me, some of this stuff is just mind-blowing.
When it comes to text, oh man, it's already a complete game changer. We're talking about drafting emails in seconds, writing actual programming code, taking a huge, dense report and summarizing it perfectly. And of course, there are the chatbots that can hold conversations that feel, well, surprisingly human. It's really like having a super smart assistant for pretty much anything that involves words. And it's definitely not just about words. In the visual world, this is huge. You can type a sentence and get back a piece of stunning original art. You can get ideas for logos. You can even edit photos just by telling the AI what to do. Like, hey, make the sky in this picture look like a sunset. It's putting these incredible creative tools into the hands of, well, everyone.
And then there's audio, which is just wild. We're talking about text-to-speech that sounds almost perfectly human. The ability to clone a voice from just a tiny audio sample. It can even compose brand new music from scratch in basically any style you can think of. The whole digital creative world is being turned upside down.
Okay, so when you have a technology this powerful and this new, there's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of myths flying around. So let's take a beat and really separate the sci-fi stuff from what's actually going on. Let's talk about what this technology isn't. All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and tackle the biggest myth of all, that AI is sentient. When a chatbot says something like, I understand how you feel, it's not feeling empathy, not at all. It's basically just a super advanced autocomplete. It's looked at billions of conversations and knows that a supportive phrase is the most statistically likely thing to say next. There are zero feelings, no consciousness. There's no ghost in the machine here.
Okay, but what about creativity? Is it really creating original ideas? Well,
It's a bit of a yes and no. Sure, it can make a picture of a cat that has never existed before, but how does it do it? It does it by remixing all the different features of all the cats it's ever seen in its training data. The fur from one, the eyes from another, the pose from a third. Think of it less like an imaginative artist and more like a masterful, incredibly sophisticated remixer.
And this really gets to the core of it all, the huge difference between matching patterns and actually understanding something. Look, if you ask an AI, what's the capital of France? It doesn't know what France is or what a capital is. It just knows from all the text it's read that the sequence of words capital of France is statistically very likely to be followed by the word Paris. It's all about probability, not knowledge.
So once you get that, once you understand its limits, that's when you can start using AI in a really effective and responsible way. It's a tool. So how do we become smart users of this tool? Let's get practical for a minute.
The single biggest thing you can do to get better results is to improve your prompts. It's a simple idea. The quality of the answer you get back is directly tied to the quality of the question you ask. This is what people call prompt engineering. If you just say, explain climate change, you'll get a generic, boring answer. But if you say, explain climate change to a 12-year-old, focus on the greenhouse effect, and keep it to 3 paragraphs, now you're going to get something way, way more useful.
And beyond just getting good results, we have to be smart, critical thinkers. This is huge. First, these AI models can hallucinate, which is a fancy way of saying they can just make stuff up and present it as fact with total confidence. So you always have to double-check anything important. Second, data privacy. I'm going to say it again. Do not put sensitive personal or company information into a public AI tool. And finally, just know that the legal stuff, like who owns the copyright to AI art, is still being figured out.
Really, it all boils down to this one simple idea. AI is an amazing tool. It can be a fantastic assistant, a co-pilot for your work, a creative partner, but it's not an independent thinker. It's not an authority. That means your human brain, your judgment, your common sense, your final review is absolutely essential. In the end, generative AI itself isn't good or bad. It's just a really, really powerful tool. The real story, the one that matters, is how we decide to use it. Are we going to use it with curiosity,